Welcome back, YouTube. And for those who do not know me, hello. My name is Noah, and on my channel, we talk about death, true crime, spiritual reparations, haunted people, places, and things, and how you can fuck around and find out. If you are not subscribed here, I highly recommend that you do. And if your notification bell is not on, please turn it on. Before we start this video, I just wanted to let everyone know that I only have one page on each profile and I will never reach out to you or follow you back. And it's not because I don't love you guys, it's because I'm literally trying to stop fraud. My subscribers, my patrons, my followers, they are getting scammed by people pretending to be me. And while I'm just that great, apparently, I do not want y'all giving y'all money to anyone for no tarot readings or anything. Hell, my calendar isn't even up right now. So please, if someone inboxes you offering you a reading or pretending to be me, block and report the account. I lay y'all down. On today's episode, we will be talking about a place that people go to have fun, but is an actual portal, and that is New Orleans, okay? I went to visit the beautiful city last year and I absolutely love the culture, the food, the people. It was just chef's kiss. I truly enjoyed my short time in New Orleans, but New Orleans is a parallel universe. Okay, my stomach felt like it was in my ass the entire time that I was there. And we're going to be watching some TikToks from locals and natives that explain what I mean by it is a parallel universe, it is a portal, all that good stuff. So why is New Orleans called a spiritual hub, a parallel universe, a portal, you ask? Well, New Orleans has very rich history, a lot of history that is everything that you know New Orleans to be. Mardi Gras, different festivals that go on down there. The city is absolutely beautiful, but it also has a very dark past. Witches, warlocks, vampires, werewolves, rougarous, hags, spirits. I mean, it is said that this place has all of the above and some. Natives constantly warn visitors, especially during Mardi Gras, to be careful as to where they go in the city. And it's not because they want you to be careful of the people that are on earth, the humans. That's not what they're afraid of, and that's not what they're warning you about. They're warning you about going into dark alleys, talking to certain people. Hell, they even say buildings disappear and reappear in New Orleans. When I say this city is spicy as hell, it's spicy. While New Orleans is one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever seen in my life and had the pleasure of experiencing, like I said, that city has a lot of pain. I went on a cruise last year that disembarked from New Orleans, and it was a lot of natives on that cruise, and they had a lot to say about their city, baby. Besides the fact that they said Hurricane Katrina was a hoax, which if you want to hear more about that, I can make a video on that. But there was a lot of lives lost in Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans was a very popular port for trading human beings back in slavery time, the antebellum period, and before then. So when I say this city is beautiful, but it has a lot of dark history, it kind of explains why this place is so haunted. The most famous voodoo practitioners hail from Louisiana, New Orleans to be exact. Madame Laveau, her spirits, is all over the city. Then we have Marie Delphine, who was the ugliest of the ugly. She was a slave owner who supposedly passed away in France, but the locals never believed that. And she resides there. Her house is still there. Marie Laveau's house is still there. Her store, her resting place is said to be in St. Louis Cemetery number 1. And I said to be because the locals also said her body ain't in there. But like I said, different video. You can definitely feel the thickness of the energy. Locals say you could be walking next to a person in the French quarters and that person's dead. But you don't know because they're showing up in full body apparition. It gets that deep in NOLA. Their churches, their buildings, their tourist attractions. Some of them are centuries old and hold century old spirits. The place is just a different realm, but in this realm. And I truly believe because this place is not a real place, but a real place. It's a place that exists in this dimension, but exists in other dimensions. The veil is thin or non existent when it comes to New Orleans. When I went to New Orleans last year, and I know I'm saying it wrong for all the locals, us West Coast people pronounce all of our syllables. But when I went to New Orleans, I could feel the energy. And it was scary, but it was also very exciting, especially in the French quarters. You know, it's buzzing with energy. You have your palm readers, you have your tarot card readers. And even though I said whenever I was going to New Orleans that I was going to get my palm read, I was going to let somebody else do my readings, my discernment was kicking in, honey. It was kicking in heavy in that city. I, in no way, shape, or form, felt comfortable with even touching anyone. I mean, I literally was like, hell no. No, 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 no. I felt like I was constantly being watched. And even though I was in crowded public areas, it did not feel like the watching of this world's eyes. I literally would go outside of my hotel and I would always be facing these very old historic buildings. And I felt like I was being watched from the windows, even though the windows were completely black and empty. I went to Madame Marie Delphine's house of torture and took pictures outside of the house and seen what I feel like and what my TikTok followers feel like were full body apparitions and faces in the window. This is where it first kind of started getting eerie because this building is not occupied at all. And it looked like someone was either near the window or whatever. Like when I was out there, you could clearly see through the glass if you got close enough. And you could see no one was in there. But whenever I went back and looked at these pictures, we had a few spectators. Who is that? No, who is that? That looks like the Grim Reaper for one, and it's high up. Nothing was in these windows, y'all. Like one of them is even broken. Okay, nobody lives here. I know y'all see her. If you look, I'm trying not to get cut out, but if you look, it's two eyes, a nose, and the mouth is being covered by that middle frame. I'm getting goosebumps just revisiting this. Circling this was like the creepiest shit I think I've done all year. Again, that shadowy figure, and then in the corner right up in here, it looks like something was trying to manifest but didn't fully. I don't know. So I said, well, maybe I'm just tripping, right? So I went to the next picture. Same creepy looking skeleton. It almost looked like Baron. It's crazy. This is the same window frame, but just a different picture taken maybe a minute after the first one where it was the lady in the window. But this looks like an old black man to me. You can see like his beard, like his face if you stare long enough. I'm shook, y'all. And the place is vacant. No one lives in it. There's no tours of that place as of now. It's April 2024. So I'm not sure if they opened it back up. This was June of 2023, but no one that I knew of was in that building, but I felt a presence. So much so, I went to the entry and threw 3 pennies at the entrance and walked away backwards. And whenever I walked away backwards, I did not turn around to look at the building as I was leaving. Also visited Marie's House of Voodoo, and it's Marie Laveau's store, and it's on Bourbon Street. And that was like the highlight of my visit, but you feel energy there. You're not allowed to record, take pictures, which once I walked in there, I was like, oh, I would never take pictures in here anyway. But it's a lot of energy. This is where this woman resided and did some of her most powerful conjurings. I can honestly say, as someone who dabbles in the spiritual realm, if you go there and you are spiritual, you will feel it. you'll feel the energy. The energy in New Orleans is different. It's not like here in let me not say that because Las Vegas is also a portal. It's not like anywhere that I've ever felt, experienced. It was just so different. Like I said, I had that anxiety lump in my stomach at some points. A lot of my trip, I was like taking deep breaths, like, okay, you're fine, Bree. You're fine, Noah. Everything's okay. You are too divinely protected and spiritually loved to even worry. Definitely some of them places I walked out backwards. You ain't coming home with me. The fuck? I originally wanted to visit some of the plantations that are there, but after the energy that I felt just on Bourbon Street and in the French Quarters, I was like, I can't handle that. I just can't. I feel like spirits like could see me. And it was such a weird feeling that you will never understand until you visit the city and you are a spiritualist and you can feel energy like that. Don't believe me? Hell, don't believe anything I say because at the end of the day, I'm not a native. But my good friends on TikTok, which I will be tagging all the creators down below, have something to tell y'all about their city. This first video comes from a creator by the handle Candy Cane, but she is stitching a creator called The Local Cryptid. And I have looked for the original video all over and I have watched the original video in the past. I cannot find it. I'm hoping that I find it. And if I do, I'll put it at the end of this video. But Candy Cane is explaining a phenomenon that I guess New Orleans people experience called card shuffling, where you see certain things, buildings that you see them one time and then you come back and it never existed or it's not there anymore. Take a look at what she says.
Establishment that you were damn sure convinced ought to be there no longer.
Paranormal experiences are completely normal to me. I know that's really weird to say, but I'm rarely ever freaked out. This is something that happened to me and it actually had me shook. I'm from an area that has a very rich history as far as hauntings go, and I've lived in multiple haunted houses, but I've never been as freaked out as my experiences that I've had in New Orleans. So this is 100% something that I can tell y'all, this absolutely happened. If y'all didn't watch the video, go back and watch it, but they call this card shuffling. I've never heard it called that before, but cafes in the middle of the night will pop up, disappear. You won't be able to find certain things on Google Maps that you were certain that you saw before. And I do divination, but anytime people ask me to do that in New Orleans, I don't. I always compare it to a compass that just like spins. It goes crazy when you put it next to a magnet. It's like that type of energy. But I personally have experienced this twice, and I've been on the tail end of it like a third time of somebody else's experience.
Thank God I never experienced that when I was in New Orleans. Or maybe I did and just didn't know it. I was very much so in tourist mode, so I could have seen some shit that really wasn't there. This next video comes from a creator whose handle is Poppy is So Bold. And he's a New Orleans native. I love his accent. I love all NOLA accents. They're chef kiss. He is born and raised in New Orleans, and he had a couple of things to warn us about when coming to New Orleans. I'm also going to insert a few of his other videos that regard witches, werewolves, vampires, because he really put me up on some game. Just watch.
Let me give y'all the warning before you come to the city of New Orleans for Mardi Gras, you heard me? Everything is sectioned off. Don't be all back there in Bourbon, French Quarters, looking for something, and then you run into something else, you heard me? Because that's how it is in the city. We got witches over here, we got your vampires over there, we got your werewolves over there, rainbows over there, this over here, you heard me? Like, everything is sectioned off, so it's a place of culture, baby. Don't come over there and you thinking you just about to be dancing, you heard me, drinking your little drink, you heard me, and then next thing you know, you run into something crazy. You better be aware, baby. It's like vortexes down there. Quantum physics is happening down there. You go in one spot and you wound up in the other, you heard me? Mirror dimensions is happening down there. Be careful, bro. Stop thinking everything is cute and, you feel me? Don't come out down here with all that, I promise you. It's gonna be some problems. Part 2 before you come to New Orleans, you heard me? Understand this. Jackson Square. When you're around Jackson Square, please understand that it was an execution block for the slaves. So, it was a place where they publicly executed the Haitian people and the African people.
Located in the infamous French Quarter in New Orleans, Jackson Square is riddled with terrifying spirits wreaking vengeance. Historically, the square was used for public executions, and it's believed that all who died there haunt the grounds looking for revenge on those who took their life. Those that walk through have felt like they're being followed or seen unexplainable lights and shadows in their photos, and all leave feeling confused and scared that something was trying to get them. So if you are planning to visit, just be careful where you step foot, because you might not be so lucky as those that have tried before.
The souls are still roaming, their souls still out there, and you might feel like you're being followed sometimes. Learn how to tap in with the energy though. Everything isn't bad, everything isn't negative, everything isn't wicked. Learn how to tap in with your ancestors. Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, that was a church where they housed bodies. It was like a morgue, so they would house the bodies before they have to take it over there to the St. Louis cemetery, you hear me? So you got that over there, baby. When y'all going over there in that church, make sure you be careful.
To date, it is the oldest church in New Orleans, so it's no surprise that it also is one of the most haunted places in the city. Back in the day, the building was used as a sort of pseudo-morgue, where they would house bodies waiting to be transferred to the St. Louis cemetery.
It's rumored to say that the souls of that church is still roaming around. They stuck to the church, and they still are, you hear me? So, be careful when you're visiting it over there. That's very, very, very historical. Very historical place. Very historical place. Very beautiful, too. We got my beautiful woman, Marie Laveau, the Voodoo Queen, over there buried in the St. Louis Cemetery.
I have been to St. Louis #1, and I have seen the tomb of Laveau, seen the fat tourists from Little Rock to Hackensack, drawing crosses on the bricks, making wishes to the bones of Marie Laveau. Little do they know, all they have to do to get their wishes granted was come down here to the 9th Ward and get their hair braided.
Very historical place. You should go over there, visit, pay homage to the beautiful lady. They say she's still alive. I mean, that's up for you to decide, you hear me? But beautiful woman. Go do the research on Marie Laveau. A lot of people visit Marie Laveau's tomb and they leave coins, they leave flowers, they leave candles, they leave offerings and stuff like that, you know? So if you ever get a chance to visit over there, make sure you pay homage. Make sure you have a good spirit with you. Make sure you're very aware and just have a lovely heart, you hear me? Yeah, we got the Casket Girls, also known as the Vampires, over there on Chartres and Ursuline. So in 1727, the King of France sent over about 6 white girls, pale, bad-skinned, bloodshot red eyes, right? He sent them over there to come over there downtown to New Orleans. So upon arrival, the Casket Girls was looked down upon, rightfully so. Blisters all over their skin, bloodshot red eyes. You can tell they had all type of diseases, just dirty. It looked as though they couldn't stand to be underneath the sun, you hear me? These girls eventually went into prostitution and sex work because of the mistreatment in their marriages. Now, at the time, the only people that would take these girls was the Ursuline nuns. So because of their mistreatment and how nobody down there in the city was really messing with them like that, the King of France ordered them to come home. Now, when he ordered them to come home, the Ursuline nuns was the ones that housed them until they was able to go home. So these nuns eventually took them up to a 3rd floor, which was nailed shut, and all the windows was closed off where no sunlight could come through the windows. So they told them that they could be on the 3rd floor. They put them up there on the 3rd floor, put their luggage on the 3rd floor, and left. After about a few moments, maybe a few hours then passed, they go check on the 3rd floor. The girls was gone. Now, when they come back and they see the girls gone, they check the luggage and nothing was in there. None of their clothes, none of the stuff that they had that was in there, everything was gone. After finding this out, the nuns went and bolted the 3rd floor shut. So it was even blessed by the Pope himself that nobody can go on the 3rd floor, you heard me? Now, if you still want to go over there and see the church, it's over there on Chartres and Ursuline. You can go ahead over there if you want now, but it's up to you. So look, before coming to New Orleans, you heard me? A lot of y'all be asking me about how you go see the voodoo lady or the priestess and the witches and stuff like that. You might want to be careful when you're going downtown, baby. Everybody downtown in that French Quarter don't mean you right. Don't mean they gonna do you good. And that don't mean you're gonna get everything you ask for. They got a lot of people down there scamming, yeah, you heard me? But be careful when you asking about doing harm to somebody. People could put a curse on you if you do that, you heard me? Better think, baby. Just because you see people down there with a table, all that stuff, and they look like they witches, they look like voodoo priests, they might be, but it don't mean that they might do you right. You better ask the natives who to really go see too, you hear me? Don't just be going to any and everybody when you go down there. Trying to go see somebody specific or really get right, I suggest you ask the natives who to really go to. Most of them ain't downtown and in the French Quarter neither, you hear me? You might come across them real ones uptown in the 9 and 7 wards, you heard me? You might see them in the 3rd, you might see them in the Magnolia, you might see them in the 17th, but they ain't everywhere you think they gonna be, baby. They really ducked off, yeah, and they don't like everybody. Most of y'all just be asking for stuff. What are you willing to give? What are you willing to serve? Who are you willing to help? If you're willing to take, you're just willing to be evil. You're willing to do somebody bad. Don't think that good gonna come to you. Remember, what you do to others, come back to you, you heard me? Understand that when you go and ask for stuff, ask for certain spells to be put on people, yeah. And most of these women and real voodoo priests ain't gonna do it anyway because they really know what come with the game, and that's not what they into. You need to understand their souls and understand who they really are before you just being selfish. Start thinking everything about money, about success, or how you need to look, or something in the physical. Better get your spirit and your soul right, baby.
Everything that man said was facts, okay? Before I got there, I'm like, I'm going to let somebody else read me, like I said a little bit earlier. And when I got there, my ancestors was like, hell no. No to the no. It was like my intuition was just intuitioning. And it was to a level where I was like, are you being paranoid or are you being safe? You gonna have fun or not? And I was like, if that's what fun includes, not. But I thought his story about the witches and the casket girls, listen, go follow that man. This next creator we actually have featured on the channel when she was telling us about Jamaican mermaids a while back. She goes by the handle Kennedy Jack 18, and she's just warning you guys about New Orleans like the rest of the videos are. So just watch.
Let's talk about it. So I've been seeing a lot of people on social media talking about, you know, people need to be careful when they're visiting New Orleans during Mardi Gras. And yeah, you really do. Y'all just don't realize New Orleans, especially New Orleans, is like a spiritual playground, y'all. Y'all have to realize, like, just because y'all don't see this stuff on a regular, especially people that's not from that area, from the city and stuff like that, just because y'all don't see this stuff or hear about this stuff on a regular does not mean it is not true, y'all. I'm telling y'all, New Orleans is like a spiritual playground. And I get it. When you go to Mardi Gras, you're there to have a good time. You're there for the whole experience. You want to come back. You want to bring souvenirs. You want to try the new foods. You want to let any random person read your palms and record it and, you know, for the whole aesthetic. But sometimes you just got to think before you go into these knick-knack shops and you buying all these different objects. Y'all don't know what these objects have connected to them, y'all. And I get it, you know, sometimes y'all like, just live. Like, it's not that serious, but it is that serious when you go back home and it's something attached to you or you don't know what's going on and why things are. It's some evil people in this world. And am I saying that all these people in New Orleans are evil? No. It's so many good people in New Orleans. And I'm not saying that all voodoo is bad. I'm not very, very educated on voodoo, but I do know voodoo isn't the same. All voodoo is different. There's so many different type of voodoos. And that's just something that I don't want any type of connection with. But when y'all going down there and y'all going in all these different knick-knack shops, bringing home all these different objects that y'all don't know nothing about just because it's cute, these little dolls and antiques, and like I said, letting people read your palms and getting your energy, it's crazy. I've been seeing all type of people talk about how they've been seeing these like vampire-like things, and I've heard a few different stories about the vampires in New Orleans and stuff like that, and they're not what you think, like the vampires with fangs and all that. the complete opposite of what you see on TV. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, if you see it on TV or you hear some type of creature on TV, it is real. Most of the time, it's real. They didn't just come up with these ideas out of nowhere. But it's not exactly what you think. It's not like how it is on TV. But that's for another topic. If y'all want me to talk about like vampires, real vampires, then I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, y'all gotta be careful. New Orleans is like one of the most haunted places in the world. Home to Madame Laurie Laveau, the Voodoo Queen. Home to Madame Larari. She is one of the most evil slave owners ever known to man. Like, this place has so much history, from all the different slaves coming there and bringing all their traditions and customs and religion to this one town. It's filled with so much history and pain and magic, y'all, and this stuff is real. Like I said, just because we don't learn about it that much here where we are does not mean it's not real. But if I was to go, best believe I'm gonna be prayed up the whole time, y'all. I feel like it's a place that everybody needs to visit. And I get it's fascinating, and I get a lot of this stuff is very interesting. But be careful when you're going on these ghost tours and these different graveyards and bringing back all these different energies and stuff like that. Because just because you haven't seen it does not mean it's not real. Because I promise you that New Orleans is just a place that I don't want to mess with.
Heavy on the just because you ain't seen it or experienced it does not mean it does not exist. Everybody ain't lying. Okay, I'm gonna need y'all to learn how to run when you see other people run, because that's exactly what all of these creators are warning you to do, to be careful down there in that spiritual hub. This next creator goes by the handle Ashes661316, and she's explaining what a rougarou is. And this is the resident villain in the bayous of New Orleans, or even just Louisiana in general. But you know what I say, everybody don't be lying. And this isn't the first, second, 15th time that I've heard about this rougarou from locals, which I don't know if she's a local, but she had a very, very clear, direct way of telling us, don't go on the bayous.
Excellent suggestion. This is the legend of the rougarou, the werewolf of the bayou, a creature that supposedly stalks the swamps of Louisiana and surrounding areas to this day. The rougarou, or French version loup-garou, was a shape-shifting creature that took on multiple forms, though most popularly a wolf or dog-like monster. The rougarou is said to possess incredible strength, unnatural speed, and impossible senses. It was also said to stand anywhere from 7 to 9 feet tall. Much like the werewolf, early versions of the rougarou state that if you were bit or scratched by the creature, you would be cursed to turn as well. Those afflicted would find themselves craving human blood and usually attack family or friends. Those suspected of being cursed were tried and most often brutally executed. Later, it was believed that if you did not fully observe Lent, you would turn into a rougarou, while others believed that instead a rougarou would come for you in the night. Some believed if you cut the beast with a knife, it would turn back into a human, but you could never tell anyone what you saw or the curse would pass to you. For this reason, many locals do not talk about their encounters. Even so, reported sightings still occur, spiking after Katrina with reports of a large creature stalking the swamps at night.
I was also told that rougarous also roam the city after 3 a.m. A lot of these creatures that they're talking about roam the city, especially after 3 a.m. It's not just the bayous, like they come up into the city too. Speaking of werewolves, the next video comes from a user with the handle NOLA Priestess, and she's letting us hear what New Orleans sounds like after dark. Y'all let me know what y'all think is making this noise. That was, but I want no parts. I ain't hear nothing. I ain't see nothing. I don't know what that is. I cannot even hear it. I'm gonna mind my business, mind my black ass business, as y'all should. This next video is really interesting. It may explain just some of the spiritual disturbances, as a lot of people call them, that happens in New Orleans. Y'all just look.
Bernard Parish.
He claims there are large mounds underwater that may have once been the site of a lost city thousands of years ago.
Paul Murphy reports local fishermen have long talked about strange and unexplained things happening in that area.
The Chandeleur Islands are a chain of uninhabited barrier islands located in the Gulf of Mexico, 50 miles east of New Orleans. But 12,000 years ago, before a dramatic sea level rise at the end of the last ice age, this area may have been dry land.
3 different search areas.
Retired architect and amateur archaeologist George Gillet believes the site, now underwater, was once home to an ancient civilization. He dubbed the city Crescentus.
What's down there is hundreds of buildings that are covered with sand and silt and that are geographically related to the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Giza is a city in northern Egypt where ancient pyramids and the Sphinx are located. Gillet claims to have found mysterious mounds of granite under Chandeleur Sound. Granite is not native to Louisiana or Mississippi.
Somebody floated a billion stones down the Mississippi River and then assembled them outside of what would later become New Orleans.
Gillet has spent nearly 50 years studying the site. He produced underwater sonar images of what he claims are remnants of major buildings, including a large pyramid,
which produces an electromagnetic energy that's incredible.
It's so crazy because Memphis and Arizona have similar stories about pyramids or ancient civilization. The only difference is in Arizona, it's in the Grand Canyon. In New Orleans, it's underwater. And if y'all want me to go into the Arizona one, because that's the one I know best because I used to live in Arizona, just let me know. This next creator is actually super funny, but he speaks facts as well. He goes by the handle Comedian Boogie Official, and he's explaining how the locals kind of move around the French Quarter in different places, but he's talking directly about Madame Laveau. Just listen.
History books, come here. Let me stress y'all out right fast because this is Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo in the French Quarter in New Orleans. It's a touristy area, but this place ain't no game. Y'all be taking y'all drunk ass up in there playing around, but this lady was the truth. This Creole lady right here is Marie Laveau, and she was also known as a voodoo queen. She wasn't a game. People came from miles and miles to get treatments for stuff that doctors said couldn't be healed. And she carried a snake around her neck everywhere she went, way before y'all was walking with snakes around your neck on the beach. This Marie Laveau part 2, Marie Laveau's daughter, who was even a stronger voodoo queen who practiced in even darker voodoo magic. This is St. Louis Cemetery where they say Marie Laveau is buried. Y'all could go visit this lady gravesite if you want to, but you ain't taking the locals with you. We don't go here.
You know, I have a whole series on Madame Laveau on TikTok, and I thought about creating a video that puts all of those series in one here on YouTube, because the story about Madame Delphine Lavary is starkly different coming from locals than it is in history books and American Horror Story Coven. So just let me know if y'all want me to do that for y'all, because I truly enjoy covering Madame Laveau. All in all, visit New Orleans because it is so beautiful, but just be careful down there. Everybody ain't meant to read your palm. You ain't meant to buy certain trinkets out of certain stores. Use discernment. And if you happen to be out on them streets after 3 a.m., walk into your room or your Airbnb or wherever you're staying backwards. I promise you, boo-boo, walk in backwards. Would I go back to NOLA? Absolutely. I need at least 10 days in New Orleans. I just do. I didn't get to see a lot of things that I wanted to, and now that I know what to expect, I think it won't be such a shell shock the next time I go. It's a beautiful, beautiful city with a rich history, but while it is rich and beautiful, it has a very heavy past. Don't forget, a lot of this was native land, and then they brought enslaved people over. A lot of the places that we walk past, downtown, residential areas, those were literal execution grounds for enslaved people. Let's not forget that it's on the Mississippi River, which is a whole video in itself. If you know, you know. Comment down below if you've ever been to New Orleans, or if you've ever had any type of paranormal experience in this city, or if you know tea that I may not know. Fill me in. And if you would like me to cover a certain topic, story, true crime, paranormal story, whatever your heart desires, please send me an email. I will be linking my new email for you guys to send me recommendations down below. Please don't forget to follow these creators that I am putting in this video. They work really hard on their content and they always have hot tea. Until next time, y'all do good, be good, and stay safe.